What does it mean to have your work cut out? What does it mean to get the sack? In this video, I'll tell you the meaning and origin of these two phrases, as also the pronunciation of the word spelled S-E-W. Do keep watching, but first do subscribe to The English Nut on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you. When you're faced with a task that's difficult or time-consuming, you may say that you have your work cut out. The phrase is often lengthened to say that you have your work cut out for you. Originally, the phrase simply meant that you had a lot of work to do, but later the difficulty of the work became integral to the meaning. It is believed that the phrase originated in tailoring. The cloth is first cut as per the design of the outfit to be made. Once this is done, the tailor has the task of sewing the cut-out pieces of cloth together to complete the job. While this seems like a plausible story about the origin of the phrase, as usual, we don't have evidence to corroborate it. Let's try to use the phrase in sentences. She had her work cut out for her to get admission into college. The new government has its work cut out. The Indian team has its work cut out to win the tournament. Given the rising crime rate, the police have their work cut out for them. It seems counterintuitive that when you have your work cut out, you have a lot to do. If the work is cut out, it should reduce, right? Well, picture the tailor with piles of fabric cut in appropriate shapes for making dresses. Think of the amount of work he has to do to sew the pieces together by hand, and you will get the sense of the phrase. The earliest known usage of the phrase is in 1591. It was in a piece printed in London titled A Discovery of the Great Subtlety and Wonderful Wisdom of the Italians. Here is more work cut out in this one chapter than they and their disciples will ever be able to do. Almost a century later, in 1672, we find the phrase being used in the sense of work being prepared for you by someone. This passage is from several sermons preached on the whole 8th chapter of the Epistle to the Romans by English clergyman Thomas Jacob. I resolved to fix upon some continued discourse in Holy Writ, where I might have my work cut out for me by the Spirit of God from time to time, by which being determined I might be freed from self-perplexing and time-wasting distractions. Here the person preparing the work is the Spirit of God, but to help understand the meaning, we can think of a tailor's assistant cutting cloth as per a given design, making it ready for the tailor to sew. There is an obsolete French phrase that corresponds to this English phrase. It appears in 1694 in the Dictionnaire de l'Académie Française, or Dictionary of the French Academy. The phrase is tailler de la besogne à quelqu'un, which is French for to cut out work for someone, and it figuratively means to give someone a lot of work. It carries the sense of troubling or inconveniencing someone by giving them a heavy workload. Do note that the word spelled S-E-W is pronounced like so and not sue. To get the sack is a slangy expression that means to be fired or dismissed from one's job. Here's how you use it in a sentence. She got the sack because she was outspoken. Or he got the sack because he did not suck up to the boss. Or Rupesh decided to pull up his socks before he got the sack. You could also phrase it as so-and-so was sacked. The human resources head made a mistake and sacked the wrong person. The phrase is supposed to originate in the practice of workmen carrying their tools in a sack in olden days. When their services were no longer wanted by an employer, they were handed over their sack of tools and asked to leave. One variation on this phrase is get the bag. Another is get the empty. The latter variation makes me wonder whether the worker did not even get his tools back when he was dismissed and had to leave with an empty sack. The phrase hit the sack is completely different though. It is of nautical origin and means go to bed. The phrase get the sack comes to us from the 17th century and possibly originated in French. Randall Cotgrave's Dictionary of 1611 notes the French phrase as On lui a donné son sac, which literally means he's been given the sack. The dictionary explains that it is said of a servant whom his master hath put away. I presume that put away here means dismissed and not killed, as it sometimes means in gangster slang. The English version first appears in Charles Westmacott's 1825 book, The English Spy. You mun a split on me, or I shall get the zack for telling on ye. Do come up with sentences using either of these two phrases. Write them in the comments section. I'm the English Nut. Bye for now.